This is a vision I had for Leire on December 6th. I saw a river, and it was overflowing a little bit, and it was definitely showing me it had been flooded. It had that color to the water where the mud and dirt are kicked up because of so much, I guess, rain at some point, or flooding at some point. Anyway, it was risen above the way that it should be. And in the background, there were some trees. So it was a pretty wide river that was sort of flooded, and, that chocolate milk looking color. And the background had trees, and then through the trees you could see sort of the sun, but you could see that the air quality was not well either. It looked like maybe there had even been a fire because of the way that the sun was shown. Anyway, I saw the water, and I saw it flowing, and then I saw this small little waterfall, maybe 10 feet, maybe a little bigger, and it continued on, and then I could see under the water, and it was showing me that the water was shallow. It wasn't too deep. And the next thing that I saw was Leire in the river on a canoe, and she had a paddle, and she was kind of paddling along. I don't see anything, about her countenance that was, worry or anything too much. In fact, her countenance seemed to be cheery, like she usually is. Anyway, all of a sudden, as she's floating down this river, she wants to stop. And she wants to stop to pick a flower, actually, that's there in the river. It's like a daisy. So she kind of puts her oar, sorry, that word left my mind for a minute, down into the ground to stop herself. And so you can see that the river's still trying to flow and take her, but she's holding on to the oar for dear life to grab this flower. So she grabs it, and I think it makes her happy. And I think she's able to kind of somehow leave the oar in the water so that she can not have to hold on to it anymore. She's sort of steadied it as an anchor type of thing so that she didn't have to, hold tight to have to move it. Anyway, so I see her in there, and a few things happen here. She takes off something that I believe is some sort of yoke, like that you would yoke two horses together, or not oxen, but horses. And anyway, but it wasn't made of leather or any type of material that a harness is, or not a harness, a yoke is made of. It was almost like a jello, really thin jello consistency. It looked like those pillows that you wear when you're on a plane. It's around your neck. That shape, obviously the same shape as a yoke. Anyway, but it kind of peeled off. She kind of peeled it off of her and held out in front of her, and it was very wiggly like jello. It was didn't hold any weight or any, substantial anything, and she kind of just dropped it into the water. And at this point, I could see her on the boat, struggling to get something on over her clothes, and it was like a wetsuit, and it was very hard for her to get on. I could see her struggling and wiggling around in there in the boat, trying to pull it up really hard and get it on over her shoulders and zip it up. And it was a full body wetsuit with gloves and a hat or a hood over her and goggles and everything. So I see her struggling to put this on, and then she's got it on, and it's very uncomfortable. She can barely move in it. She's trying to kind of move around in there, and she can barely even move in this wetsuit. So she's facing one way as she's struggling all this, to get this on, and she struggles to turn the other way. And she turns around and faces the other way. Now, I don't know if this is towards the back of the boat. It kind of feels that way, kind of looks that way. Anyway, at this point, she takes off her glove, and she starts to look at her hand. And the skin is peeling off of her hand. Not in a way that there's redness under it to where it's, irritated or anything. It's like a dead skin. It's dead. It's dead flesh that is peeling off and peeling away. And she's just kind of looking at it and watching it and kind of like wiping it and removing it. And then at this point, she stands up in the boat and she takes her hand and she raises it up to where the sun is shining. And the sunlight, as she puts her hand into the sun, you can see that the sun is lighting it up like in a very spiritual way. It's not like the sun that was, behind sort of like the fiery, dull sky. It as soon as it was in the light of the sun, there was a light shone on it, and it was sparkling with like gold. And as soon as her hand was put in there, her garment completely changed. So you could see it like, almost like miraculously change. And she was changed into a wedding dress. And so it took over her whole, her whole entire body changed from this wetsuit to this wedding dress. And also from heaven came this like harp, which she, as soon as it came floating to her, she held it so tightly, like it was such a prized possession. But connected to this harp was a horn. And she blew the horn immediately. She was just so excited. She blew the horn immediately. And this horn had an insane amount of power. So much so that I could actually physically feel it. I can even feel it now. As she blew it, it shook the earth. Like it held an immense amount of power in this horn as she blew. And that was the end of the vision.